guys, it's Ariana. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we're going to be reading some more scary stories. But before we jump into the scary stories, I do want to give a big thank you to DOSSIER for collaborating with me again on this video. So they did send me 2 more of their perfumes. So I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 of their perfumes right now, and I am so excited to talk about them. So they sent me Amory Orange Blossom and Floral Grapefruit. So they come in these little packages, and it's super cute because it's all just cardboard, so it is environmentally friendly. And it comes with little cards that tell you the scent notes and just little information about the scents that they sent. So the floral grapefruit one is grapefruit, pear, and black currant. And it's inspired by Chanel, which is the Chance ou Tender Eau de Perfume. I have no idea how to speak French, so trying my best here. The other one is Ambery Orange Blossom, and it's violet, mimosa, and lang lang. So it's an orange blossom scent. So the Ambery Orange Blossom comes like this, and it is a gold perfume, and it smells so good. It's very, very floral. So if you don't like floral, obviously you may not like this one, but it does have a very like blossomy scent, and it smells really, really nice. And the grapefruit one is one that I absolutely adore. I'm gonna spray this one because I'm obsessed with the way this one smells. It smells just like a grapefruit, and oh my god, it smells so good. I love really citrusy, fruity scents. So the Amory Orange Blossom is really, really nice, but I definitely gravitate more to the grapefruit flavor, but they are both amazing. These perfumes last on my skin for hours. So I've been wearing the fruity almond one and the brown sugar one for a couple months now, and every time I spray it all over my body, I smell like it all day. So that's one of the main things that I love about DOSSIER is their perfumes actually last, and their scents smell amazing, and they're affordable. So these perfumes are 39 USD. So if you are in another country, this is all in USD. I'm in Canada, so it's a little bit more expensive for me, but these ones are 39 USD. The scents range from $50 to $280 in retail. They have free returns and exchanges forever, so you can get great bulk deals on their website, up to 25% discount and free shipping for 3+ bottles. They're always adding new scents to their collection, and they're always thrilled to take suggestions from customers for future releases. So if you like something and you reach out to them, they're very interested in your feedback because they want to expand and make their perfume collections better. So they produce classic high-end luxury scents at a fraction of the price, keeping the exact same high quality by cutting all the expenses and the infamous brand tax. They have a risk-free system allowing customers to try the perfumes before committing to them. If they decide to return the scent, they offer a standard 30-day return period in which the customer can return any unsealed 50 milliliter DOSSIER perfume and get a full refund, no questions asked. Are absolutely amazing. I've been working with them on 3 different videos now, and all 3 times I've absolutely loved the scent. There isn't a single perfume that I haven't liked, so I'm super excited to continue working with them. They smell amazing, and the bottles are actually fairly big, and I love the fact that the cap is magnetic, so you can never lose it, and it literally just clips on super easy. So I love these perfumes. I'm super excited that they wanted to work with me again, so thank you so much to DOSSIER. So I will leave my discount code here, and you guys can find all of the details listed down below in my description box and a pinned comment. And without further ado, let's jump into the spooky stories. So as per usual, I have my hot chocolate candle in here, and I have my wicked candle in here, setting the mood for a spooky time. It is literally 30 degrees outside right now, so it's not that spooky where I'm at because we are in midsummer in the middle of frickin' May, and it's absolutely insane, but I'm really excited to feel spooky even though it's literally not spooky at all. Okay, so the spooky story that I want to read today is actually sent to me in my email. They sent it to me in January, so I'm so sorry for only getting to my email now, but I've had so many stories and submissions that I needed to get to ahead of this one. So thank you so much for sending me this email, and let's jump into it because it's been sitting in my inbox for quite a while. So this one is titled My Terrifying Beach Encounter, and I did clarify with them. This camera is being weird today. It's like in a weird spot. Anyway, I did clarify with them that this is a true story, so let's keep that in mind when we read this because it's really freaking creepy. Hey Toasted Glam, this is a very difficult story for me to tell. It's extremely personal and extremely disturbing, but I want to get the word out, and I want to warn people about the strange thing that's going on in Southern California. And someday, I'd like to have answers. Answers to so many questions about what happened to me. So I've got to tell my story. This happened back in 2019 when I was 20 years old. A little bit about myself. I'm a female living in Southern California. I'm athletic, blonde, 5'6", around 125 pounds. Your typical Cali girl. I'm kind of a tomboy too. I love sports, volleyball, skateboarding, and especially surfing. It was a beautiful, hot, sunny August morning in Southern California. I had the day off from my college classes and my part-time job. So I decided to go surfing at a secluded beach I knew about near Topanga Canyon. I put on my bikini top, my swimming shorts, grabbed my surfboard, and headed off to catch some waves. I drove to a grassy area near the beach and parked my car. I arrived around 6:20 in the morning. This particular beach is bordered by a high coastal bluff, and it's over 150 feet down to the sand. I had to walk down a long, rickety old staircase to get down to the beach. The beach below was very rocky and would be dangerous to surf there. But about a mile down from that point, there was a mostly rock-free area about 100 yards wide with awesome waves. It was a very isolated spot and hardly anyone ever goes there. Another avid surfer told me about the spot. I've been there 3 or 4 times previously, but I never encountered another surfer, or anyone else for that matter. And going there this early in the morning, I was sure there wouldn't be anyone around. Once I got down the stairs, I started jogging along the beach carrying my surfboard. I really didn't have a care in the world at that time, and I was just enjoying the scenery. I loved the fresh, salty air and the sound of the waves, as it was starting out to be a perfect day. But this was all about to change. After jogging along the beach for about half a mile, something caught my attention near the water's edge. I slowed down to take a better look. There was an object about 20 yards away from me, floating in the water near the base of one of the larger rocks. The waves were gently moving it back and forth. It looked like a dark, black, or brown wooden crate of some kind, and it had long strands of seaweed hanging down all over it. I stopped jogging and I stared at it, trying to figure out what it was. But I was too far away and I just couldn't see the details. So I laid down my surfboard and I walked over to it. As I got closer, the ocean breeze blew in a musty, stinky odor. When I reached it, I immediately recognized what it was. To my amazement, it was a coffin. It was an old wooden coffin covered in seaweed. A coffin had washed ashore on this beach. It was a bizarre sight. It looked like it had been in the water for a very long time. I just stared at it. I really wasn't sure what I was supposed to do. It was floating in a few inches of water and the waves were crashing all around it. I didn't want it to get washed back out to sea again, so I decided to move it away from the water. I noticed it had a rope handle on top of the head end. I took hold of the rope handle with both hands and I began to drag it away from the water's edge. It was really heavy and it was really hard to maneuver. So I knew it wasn't empty, that there was definitely something inside. I drug it in several yards away from the water's edge and I propped it up against a nearby rock. I rested the head end of the coffin on the rock, angled up to about my waist in height. Now, I could examine it more easily without needing to kneel down. Being close to it wasn't all pleasant. It smelled really bad. I started to pull the strands of seaweed off the lid to get a better look. Once I had most of the seaweed off, I began looking for markings. Anything written on the surface that might help me figure out where it came from or how it got here. But there was nothing. I looked all over it, but I couldn't find a thing. No writing or markings of any kind. Nothing on the surface to help me figure it out. I felt like I shouldn't open it. What if there was a dead body inside? I didn't want to see that. But my curiosity was never going to let me just walk away and forget about it. I had to know, and I carefully began lifting the coffin's lid. Now, I know most people aren't going to believe what I'm about to say. I don't care. I also don't blame you one bit for not believing it, because I wouldn't have believed it either if I hadn't seen it for myself. As I raised the lid, it made a loud creaking sound. Then a mist of putrid odor poured out. As it cleared, I was able to look back and see what was inside. There was a woman's body inside, and I just couldn't believe it. It was terrifying. Finding a dead woman's body in a coffin on the beach is bad enough. But in addition to that, everything seemed off about her appearance. She was very strange looking. She had long dark hair and her skin was extremely pale. She almost looked like a mannequin, but she wasn't. She was real. Her clothes were in an old style. I don't know anything about old style clothing, but I have done some research since this happened. The best I can describe them as they look like the clothing women would wear in TV show Little House on the Prairie. The woman that was inside the coffin was completely dry, and all of her clothing was completely dry. There was cushioning lining inside, which was also completely dry, and the coffin was super old. The wood was heavily worn and it didn't look watertight. The lid was warped and didn't fit flush all the way around. So how is it possible that she was dry? I stared at the woman in absolute amazement. She was not decaying at all. She looked like she hadn't been dead for very long, but that didn't make any sense either. The coffin had been in the ocean for a very long time for what it seemed like. There was no doubt about that. After examining the woman's body for about a minute, I had enough of the gruesome sight, so I turned my attention away from her and I began looking up. I was again looking for any writing or marking that would give me any clues to the woman's identity, but once again, I didn't find anything. Now here comes the next part that is absolutely unbelievable. As I glanced back down at her, her eyes opened. They were not normal eyes. They were black, completely black. Absolutely no white parts or people at all. Just solid black. I'm fuzzy on a lot of the details because everything started happening so quickly. I remember that I screamed, then I let go of the lid, and it fell shut with a loud thud because I was in absolute shock. I just stood there staring at the closed coffin. I remember so vividly staring at it, knowing what was inside, feeling her presence, feeling that it could somehow still see me. I didn't stand there for very long. As I began to step away from the coffin and I was about to start running, I was attacked. Another woman lunged at me and slapped her hands around my neck. I screamed, but my scream was quickly silenced. As she squeezed my throat closed with her thumbs, I couldn't breathe, she was choking me, and I never saw her coming. She must have snuck up on me while my attention was on the coffin. She was a very tall woman. She was a lot taller than me. She must have been about 6 feet tall. That's all I can remember about her overall appearance, other than the fact that I had never seen her before. I guess I should note that her eyes were not solid black. They were regular human eyes, but they were full of hatred. Hatred for me. I began trying to pry her hands from around my neck. Remember that her hands were very cold and very strong, and I couldn't pry them off. I began making choking sounds each time I tried to inhale. It was a struggle, and my need to breathe was increasing. It became obvious that this woman wasn't going to stop choking me. She wasn't going to let me breathe. She was trying to kill me. It was a fight for my life. She started to pull me off balance, and I stumbled into the sand. She began bending me over backwards. I resisted as best as I could, but she was way too strong. I remember feeling something scratching into the bare skin of my shoulder, then into my back. I was being pinned down. She was pinning me against the coffin. I was trapped, and I had never been so terrified. I began kicking her wildly with my legs, and I connected with several hard kicks. My legs are pretty strong, so I know I must have hurt her. In an adrenaline rush, I pushed against her wrist with all my remaining strength with my arms, while making a sustained effort to inhale. I remember releasing a long, hoarsing, choking sound, and as I did, air flowed into my starving lungs. I had loosened her grip enough to take a partial breath, but this woman was furious. I saw her gritting and baring her teeth. She was having difficulty keeping me pinned down. Immediately, I kicked her really hard several more times, while pushing against her wrist with a renewed strength. I also remember turning my head from side to side that seemed to further loosen her grip. At that moment, I really thought that I was going to be able to get free. She stepped into my right side and leaned forward until she was directly above me. Her face was now directly above mine, and my kicks didn't hit her. And the pain in my throat suddenly became intense. Now she was pressing down directly upon my throat with all of her weight. I never felt pain like this before. It felt like she was crushing my throat. My tongue began protruding out of my mouth. I could no longer make a sound. I could no longer get any air into my lungs. Now my lungs felt like they were on fire, but because of her new position, I couldn't angle my legs to kick her. And with all of my strength, I was quickly draining out of my arms. There was nothing I could do, and I was completely overwhelmed. I knew she felt my struggle was coming to an end. I got a close-up view of her baring her teeth again, this time sneering at me, and I kept trying desperately to breathe. I could feel my arms going limp and my fingers slowly slipping away from her wrist. As I was losing consciousness, I vaguely remember trying to plead with her, asking her to stop, but I couldn't make a sound. I know I only mouthed the words, not that it would have made any difference. The last thing I saw was a blurry image of her evil, hate-filled face. Then nothing. That was it. That would have been the end of my life. I was essentially dead. But for some miracle, I didn't die. Somehow, life remained in me. The next thing I remember is looking up at the sky. It was a bright blue sky, and I was laying on my back in the sand. I remember just laying there, looking up. Then I noticed cold water hitting my left arm and my left side. After a while, I don't know how long, I started to notice the pain in my throat. I tried to swallow and it hurt a lot. I slowly rolled over to my side, then I sat up. I didn't know where I was or what had happened, and I just sat there, but the memories began to return. I looked all around, and the coffin was gone. There were drag marks, as if the woman had taken the coffin and drug it away down the beach in the direction I had been jogging. I saw my surfboard was still there, laying in the sand where I had left it. I slowly stood up, and my legs felt wobbly as I began walking over to my surfboard. I picked it up and began walking back the way that I had come, in the opposite direction from where the drag marks were going. No more jogging, I was too weak. It took me a long time to walk back to the stairs, and I had a really hard time climbing up them. I had to stop and take a breath a couple of times. When I finally reached the top, I was exhausted. Thankfully, the grassy spot where my car was parked was only a short distance away. When I reached my car, I put my surfboard in the back seat and then I drove home. None of my roommates were home, so I went straight to bed. I slept for a couple of hours. After that, I just went about my life as though nothing had happened. What else could I do? Calling the police would have been useless. It is an absolute crazy story, and I had no proof of any of it. There were red marks on my throat, but they weren't too noticeable. I had difficulty talking for a while and my throat was really sore. I lied to my friends and just said it was a cold. None of them questioned that or thought any more about it. I did have some nasty scratches on my back from struggling while being pinned down against the coffin's lid. The only other mark I had was a deep gash on my left elbow. I don't know how that happened. I figure I might have hit my elbow on a rock when I fell down into the sand. Needless to say, I have not been the same since this awful experience. I'm not as outgoing or carefree as I was. I don't go surfing as much anymore, and when I do, I don't surf alone. I will never go anywhere near that beach. I don't understand what I walked into that day. I don't know who or what that woman inside the coffin was. The thing that comes to mind is of course a vampire, but I never saw any fangs or anything like that. Just solid black eyes. And then there was a woman who attacked me. Who the hell was she? Why did she try to kill me? It's such a horrible memory. I've tried to piece it all together and figure out what happened, but the best that I can come up with is that the woman who attacked me was looking for the coffin. I don't understand how or why she would have known it washed up ashore there. It's such a secluded beach, most days there wouldn't be anyone around for miles. But unfortunately, I was there that morning, and I found the coffin first. Was she trying to keep the woman in the coffin a secret? Our entire struggle was brief. From the time she grabbed me to the time I lost consciousness was only about 30 seconds. And at some point, she let go of me. I must have tumbled down lifelessly into the sand. I'm certain she thought I was dead. I guess she didn't have any more interest in me since I would never talk about what I had seen. But apparently, she didn't keep squeezing my throat closed long enough after I had lost consciousness to kill me. As I started breathing again after I collapsed onto the sand, fortunately for me, she didn't know that. So she took the coffin and began dragging it away, leaving my dead body on the beach. In fact, I was very nearly dead. Noting the time I arrived at the beach was around 6:20 in the morning, and at the time I got back to my car was about 9 o'clock. I factored in everything that happened that morning, and I estimate that I laid there unconscious on the beach for about an hour. This means it took my body almost an hour of shallow breathing to get my oxygen level up high enough for me to wake up. Even with the cold water hitting me, I was that close to death. I think about my family and my friends. If I had been killed, my body would have been washed out to sea with the rising tide. Had my body had never been found, it would have been assumed that I died in a surfing accident, that I hit my head on a rock and drowned, something like that. No one would have ever known what had really happened. One more thing that absolutely creeps the hell out of me is that while I was being pinned down against the coffin's lid, I was only inches away from that strange woman inside. I know she could feel me struggling. I know she could hear me choking. And I know she wanted me to die too. I was so convinced she knew exactly who that woman was that was strangling me, that they were partners. Where did she take the woman in the coffin? Where are they now? How did that woman in the coffin get in the ocean? I have so many questions. What can I do about all of this? I've never seriously considered calling the police. I know that might be a surprise to some people, but I really had nothing for them to follow up on, and I just didn't. I don't remember enough details about my attacker to be of any use to them. They wouldn't have believed me. The whole thing is way too bizarre. There just isn't anywhere for me to go with my story, except maybe here. At the time, I had only told one other person my story, and he suggested that I tell someone who reads strange stories on the internet. I don't even know how you would classify my story. Was it something supernatural? A middle of nowhere story? One of those let's never meet again stories? But it's much more than any of that, because it's important, very important, that someone tried to kill me. Whatever was going on that day on that beach, that woman didn't want me to ever talk about what I'd seen. She was willing to kill me with her bare hands to keep me silent. All the more reason to tell my story. So please, if you do decide to tell my story, understand how serious it is. There is something evil going on there in Southern California. It's real, and I nearly lost my life, simply for catching a glimpse of it. Thank you, sincerely. I'm not gonna say her name. Oh my God, that's fucking terrifying. So like, what would you guys do in that situation if you saw a coffin wash up on sea? So she was like, I had to open it because like my curiosity would have gotten better of me. I would have left. I would have called the police immediately and I would not have touched it. That's just me. Ever fuck with stuff like that. Like if you find something that looks like anything close to a dead body, call the police. Don't go near it. Don't touch it. That is just asking for something bad to happen. And if you had called the police before you touched it and spent however long that you spent like trying to open it and rummage through it and find markings and stuff, maybe the police would have got there in time to catch the person that attacked you. I don't know, that's just a really, really terrifying story. And I don't know what could have been inside the coffin. The coffin not being wet at all on the inside, even though it wasn't water sealed, it was a very old, and just having a body inside that wasn't even decaying or anything. It looked like a dead body, but then the eyes opened and the eyes were just like pitch black, like a demon. That's terrifying. I have so many questions. You have so many questions and I have so many questions. If you guys have anything to comment in the comment section about the story, please help this author out and try to find her answers, because I have no fucking idea. That's absolutely terrifying. That definitely does sound like a supernatural story, but it also kind of sounds like a let's not meet story. So it's like let's not meet versus like supernatural, because the thing that was inside the coffin was clearly supernatural. I don't know. I have so many questions. That is absolutely terrifying. Thank you so much for allowing me to read your story, but I definitely agree with you there. Don't go surfing alone. That's already in itself dangerous. Just don't do that. You could get hurt, you could die, and nobody would know, like you said in your story. So definitely don't go surfing alone. And if you find something wash up on shore that looks like a body, don't touch it. Just call the police. Oh, that's so terrifying. I am so sorry that you were attacked like that and had to deal with that. That's absolutely terrifying. But I do want to say thank you so much to Dossier for collaborating with me again on this video. I do want to mention that this is a paid sponsorship, so like I've said in all of my other videos, I wouldn't come on here and talk about something if I didn't genuinely like it. So I genuinely like working with Dossier and I love their perfume. If you guys are interested in buying any of their perfumes, you can use my code down below. All of the information is in the description box down below. And if you guys made it to the end of this video, please leave me your favorite summer emoji, because you know it's 30 degrees out and we are literally in a heat wave and a heat warning. So leave me your favorite summer emoji down below. If you guys have any scary stories, any let's not meet stories, any paranormal stories, any spooky stories in general that you want to share on the channel, please feel free to message me on Instagram, or you guys can email me. I'm trying to get through my email. I have a lot of emails to get through, so you guys can send me emails or you can send me messages on Instagram. And thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys did enjoy it, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below for more content like this, and I will see you guys at the next video. Bye.